Welcome to Business Financing Insights, a podcast series from Celtic Capital. Each episode offers a valuable discussion on key topics for the business community, based on content from our website. In this episode, we discuss the issue of concentration and the impact having just one or two large clients can have on your business.
Welcome back, everyone. We've got a pretty crucial topic to dig into today.
Definitely crucial. Yeah.
And it's something that can really make or break your business.
Yeah.
So we're talking about concentration risk in asset-based lending.
Yeah. And, people have probably heard that phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, concentration risk in a nutshell.
Exactly.
But today we're applying it to your customers.
Exactly.
All right. So we're going to explore kind of what happens when you become overly reliant on just a few big clients, especially when you're using asset-based lending.
Right. And that's a key piece of this, right? It's like you're building this, I always think of it as like building a skyscraper on a tiny little plot of land.
Yeah.
You might reach great heights initially, but the stability of the entire structure is compromised.
Yeah, you're not really spreading out that risk.
It-
You're putting all your foundation on a very, very small piece of land.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into the risks of concentration risk, let's make sure we're all on the same page about asset-based lending.
Okay.
So you're a business owner, you need some capital,
Right.
but maybe traditional loans aren't the best fit for you. So you leverage the assets your business already owns. So, think inventory, think equipment.
Right.
Critically, the money owed to you,
Yes, your accounts receivable.
accounts receivable.
Yep.
And use those as collateral to get a loan.
Exactly.
Now imagine this scenario.
Okay.
A huge chunk of your accounts receivable is tied to one massive client.
Right.
On the surface, it looks fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Revenue coming in.
Huge growth.
Impressive growth.
Looks great.
But that's where the danger of concentration risk starts to emerge.
Exactly, because what happens if that one client,
Right.
unexpectedly goes bankrupt? Or, for whatever reason, just decides to switch suppliers.
Oh, wow.
And that's it. A major portion of your anticipated income just vanishes.
Poof, gone.
And this isn't just a revenue problem, right? This
Right.
becomes a debt problem.
Oh.
Because with asset-based lending, your ability to repay that loan is directly tied to the strength of those assets,
Yeah,
which now have a gaping hole
they do.
where that big client used to be.
Huge hole.
Yeah, and this is where the dominoes start to fall.
Uh-oh.
You might struggle to meet your loan obligations.
Oof, that's not good.
And even covering those day-to-day operational costs becomes a real scramble.
Yeah.
This is the harsh reality of what losing a key customer can look like when so much of your business hinges on them.
Yeah, and it's not even just about like them going bankrupt or, completely disappearing.
Right.
What if they just delay payments
Oh, yeah.
or start demanding like rock bottom prices because they know you need their business?
They got all the leverage.
They have all the leverage.
You're over a barrel. And this really brings us to another major risk, the impact on your profit margins.
Oh, yeah.
You're caught in a bind.
Oh.
You need this big client's revenue,
Right.
but they can squeeze you on pricing.
So you might be seeing like
You might have big
impressive revenue figures,
growth is through the roof,
but your actual profit,
is razor thin.
what you have left after all the cost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now you're probably thinking, okay, concentration risk is scary,
Yeah.
but how do I actually protect myself?
Right. Like, how do we actually prevent this from happening to us?
Yeah, what can we actually do?
Yeah. That's the $1 million question.
Okay.
Remember, the goal here isn't to shy away from big clients completely.
Right.
It's about making sure you have the right foundation.
Yeah, you want to be able to support that growth.
Yeah, to support those wins
Exactly.
when they come in.
So one of the most fundamental steps you can take is setting crystal clear payment terms.
Oh yeah, this is huge.
Yeah, think of this as laying down the rules of the game up front,
Love that.
so everyone knows what's expected.
Yeah, so this means like rock solid contracts,
Absolutely.
especially with those key clients.
Especially with them.
Don't rely on verbal agreements,
No,
handshake deals.
get it in writing.
Get everything in writing.
Yeah, specify payment deadlines.
Late fees.
Late fees. Yep.
What happens if they miss a payment?
Exactly. All that stuff.
Yeah.
And that helps minimize the chances of disputes down the road.
All right, you've already kind of got those ground rules set.
Exactly.
Like a financial prenup
I love that analogy.
for your business relationships.
Yeah.
But even with those clear terms, sometimes you need a little extra incentive to keep that cash flowing smoothly.
Oh, for sure.
Have you considered negotiating expedited payment terms?
Now, this can be a win-win for both you and your reliable clients.
Yeah, for sure.
Imagine offering a small discount, say like 2% for payments made within 10 days.
Okay.
That incentivizes them to pay quickly,
Yeah, they get a discount.
which obviously improves your cash flow.
And that reduces your exposure to those nail-biting late payments.
It's all about finding that sweet spot
Yep.
between rewarding good payment behavior
Right.
and making sure you're not leaving money on the table.
Okay, so even with these ironclad contracts and like these speedy payments, there's another major piece of the puzzle here.
Okay.
Diversifying your customer base.
Ah, diversification.
This is key.
This is huge.
So important.
Yeah.
So essentially, like, aim to have no single client represent more than like 15% of your total revenue.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb.
Now, I know achieving this might seem a little daunting, especially if you're already heavily reliant on a few major clients.
Sure, it can be a process.
But there are practical ways to approach this.
Absolutely.
You could explore new industries or geographical markets where your products or services could be a good fit.
Yeah, it's like planting seeds in different fields.
Oh, I like that.
If one field experiences a drought,
Right.
you've got others to fall back on.
Yeah, so diversification also applies to like the types of customers you serve.
Absolutely.
Expanding your customer profile not only reduces that concentration risk,
Mm-hmm.
but also opens up new avenues for growth and innovation.
It's easy to fall into the trap of, bending over backwards to please those big clients,
Oh yeah, for sure.
especially when they're bringing in a significant chunk of revenue.
You want to keep them happy?
Right, you don't want to rock the boat.
Right.
But remember, a healthy business relationship is a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's about establishing clear boundaries,
Okay.
not being afraid to push back when necessary.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with that,
Yeah, it can be tough.
especially like, you're a small business owner.
You're trying to grow.
You've got this big client who's, bringing in a lot of revenue.
You don't want to lose them.
It can be really scary to push back.
Exactly. But if a client's demands become unreasonable, if they're constantly putting pressure on your margins or resources,
Right.
don't be afraid to say no.
Wow. Okay, so sometimes walking away from a bad deal is the best way to protect your long-term interests.
Sometimes it is.
Okay.
It's like pruning a tree.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to cut away certain branches, even if they seem large and impressive,
Yeah.
to allow the rest of the tree to grow stronger and healthier.
Okay, I like that analogy.
And finally, no discussion about mitigating risk would be complete without mentioning the importance of having a contingency plan.
Oh, this is huge.
Yeah.
So imagine you've meticulously laid down the groundwork. You've diversified your customer base,
You got your contract.
mastered the art of negotiation,
You're feeling good.
feeling good,
But then,
but then the unexpected happens.
uh-oh,
A key client unexpectedly files for bankruptcy.
what do you do?
What's your next move?
Well, this is where your contingency plan comes into play.
All right, so it's like having a financial fire escape route.
Exactly. Having a plan B, essentially, you might even consider establishing alternative revenue streams that aren't reliant on your core business.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Just in case.
So having this plan in place can transform a potentially catastrophic event into a manageable bump in the road.
It takes the edge off.
Right. And it's about moving from that reactive mindset to a proactive one.
Absolutely.
You're no longer just hoping for the best.
Right.
You're actively preparing for the worst.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about all the scary pitfalls of concentration risk. We've explored the solutions.
We've given you a lot to think about.
Okay.
That's not just about rapid growth.
Right.
It's about sustainable success. It's about thinking strategically,
Long term.
not just tactically.
Okay. So it's kind of like the difference between building a house on a solid foundation
Yes.
of bedrock
Bedrock versus sand.
versus one built on sand.
Exactly.
Yeah, it can really shake things up.
It really can.
So it's about recognizing that relying too heavily on a few clients, no matter how big or impressive they seem.
Doesn't matter how much money they're bringing in.
Right.
If you're overly reliant on them, it makes your business vulnerable.
Okay. But the good news is
There's always good news.
there is understanding these risks empowers you to take control.
Absolutely.
You're not at the mercy of fate.
Or unpredictable clients.
Right. You have tools at your disposal
So you have options.
to build a more resilient
More robust.
business.
And think back to those strategies we discussed.
Yeah. So we had
Setting clear payment terms.
love it.
Diversifying your customer base.
So important.
Maintaining control over your client relationships.
Yeah.
And having that solid contingency plan.
The fire escape route. These aren't just nice to have.
No, these are must-haves.
These are essential elements of a sound business strategy.
Absolutely.
And they all tie back to that central idea of,
don't put all your eggs in one basket.
don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Spread the risk.
Right. Create a safety net for your business.
Yeah.
So that even if one area falters,
You've got backup.
you have this ability to adapt and keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
Don't let the fear of concentration risk paralyze you.
No, use it as motivation.
Let it empower you to make smart strategic decisions.
Embrace those big client opportunities.
Yeah.
But do so with your eyes wide open.
Be aware of the risks.
Exactly. Think about your own business,
Yeah.
your current client base.
Are there any areas where you might be overly concentrated?
Yeah, and what steps can you take?
What can you do, even if they're small steps,
Even small steps.
to start building greater resilience in your business? Right.
It's about building a structure that can withstand the test of time.
That's what we'll be doing. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
If you'd like to schedule a call with Celtic Capital about your specific business financing issue or about making referrals to Celtic Capital, go to the contact page on CelticCapital.com. Reach out to any of our client development officers to schedule a one-on-one call. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our podcast channel to hear more business financing insights from Celtic Capital.